What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having an unbelievable week. It's Justin Jackson here. It's that time. It's almost Thanksgiving. It's almost Christmas. For basketball, that means there's some pretty big tournaments coming up. And for this North Carolina team, the Maui Invitational uh, is right around the corner. And I think there's a few things going into this tournament that I'm super intrigued and interested to kind of see what happens. I think when you see this North Carolina team, it's the same things we've talked about all year. The guard play, how good and how much better and how much more mature the guards are this year, and their ability to make plays and get downhill. Defensively, their versatility that they show on a game to game basis. But I think there's a few things that have kind of really stood out to me kind of so far in these first few games that they've played leading up to this. I think number one, the most obvious thing to me is the maturity of Elliot Cadeau and the way that he leads this team from the point guard position. Um, Compared to last year, it's night and day. We've talked about it a little bit, but his pace of play and his patience that he has this year is not even close to what he had last year. Um, you look at some of the numbers that he had last year compared to this year. This year, he's up to 8 assists a game compared to 4 last year. Um, his shooting size, although the sample size is very small, and he's picking and choosing his spots of when to shoot from the outside. He's up to 40% currently compared to all year last year. He shot at 19%. And then also you look on the defensive end. I think there's more of a concerted effort that he has shown, this year compared to last year. He's up to 3 steals a game compared to 1 steal a game last year. And I think it's really evident kind of throughout the games. You see whenever he picks up his level of physicality and pressure and things like that, everybody else kind of falls in line with him and kind of does the same thing. So I think his maturity level and everything that he's done in the offseason to get better, and also just his experience. I mean, you go from high school right into playing 25 plus minutes and starting and being asked to do certain things. That's just a completely different game of basketball. To now, he's had a year under his belt at the college level. He's been able to see things and watch film and see different matchups and how people guard him and things like that. And now you're kind of seeing the fruits of all of that. So with that, I think it kind of bleeds right into the next point that I kind of um, am really looking forward to pay attention to. You kind of see throughout, these first few games that there's been certain times where there's been successes. There's been certain times where they've had some struggles, and I think the one game that I want to look at because of the level of competition that this Maui Invitational is going to have is the Kansas game. You look at some of the successes that they had that second half. They played pick and roll. They played open. They left the paint wide open. They had spacing to allow these guards to be able to get downhill and make plays and either finish at the rim or kick out for threes or get better looks, whatever that might be. These guys lived at the free throw line during that game, which means that there was a physicality getting downhill and putting pressure on the rim and forcing the other team to foul and get them in foul trouble. And then in transition, I think this team's, going off of the back of the guards play, I think this team's one of their biggest strengths is getting out in transition as well and not having to play against a set defense. We've talked about that quite a bit up until this point, and I think that's something that you've really seen them have success in. Now, on the flip side, I think some of their struggles have come down to whether it's execution, whether it's running plays full speed and finding advantages throughout the plays if it's not a pick and roll. But I think the biggest concern of mine is shooting. Against these better teams and against these, better schemes and more talent, more athleticism, more length defensively against this team, I think there's going to be a few things that you kind of see. I think you're going to see some teams go either a 2-3 zone or some sort of zone to kind of force this team to play from the outside and shoot shots maybe that they don't necessarily want to shoot. And I think they're going to play certain matchups to a point of, okay, you know what? Yes, Elliott's shooting 40%, but can he hit consistently enough in a game to win, to help North Carolina win, from a night in, night out basis? On the flip side, another person that we've talked about that has really taken his game to another level is Seth. I think a matchup that maybe some defenses might also try to, kind of toy with. Maybe it's going under the screens on the pick and rolls or making him make a decision that, maybe he doesn't want to make at times. Um, so can this team execute offensively and can they stick to their game plan even with certain matchups and certain schemes that maybe some of these better defensive teams might run against them? I think that's going to be really, really big to see. And then I think the third biggest thing that I'm, kind of looking forward to, and I think is going to happen, is kind of watching and seeing if RJ can get back on track. I think RJ has already shown and proven what kind of player he is, and what he can do out there on the floor. And with the maturity of these guards beside him and Elliott and RJ, and even you're kind of seeing some of the freshmen kind of pick their game up a little bit and get used to the game as well. Um, can he kind of get back in a rhythm and kind of slide right back into that go-to guy with these guys still playing the same with the same aggression, the same skill sets and maturity that they've shown so far this year. So super excited for this tournament coming up. I know these guys are hopefully they're having a blast and they're enjoying themselves. But I think there's a few things going into this tournament that's going to be really key. And can these guys execute it against these top level teams?